Warning. The system has become unstable.
Hey Patriots and Preppers, this is another special edition broadcast of my guest appearance on the Midnight Patriot with Jeff Norton. Enjoy the show.
You're listening to the Midnight Patriot radio show and podcast. If you'd like to join us, go to the web, www.themidnightpatriot.com. That's themidnightpatriot.com. Call-in numbers are there. Our Skype information is there, so you can also Skype us. Actually, we have a caller on Skype right now. Mark?
Jeff, how you doing, man?
Hey, buddy, how are you?
Doing good. Glad to be back on the show.
Oh, absolutely. It was funny because I was expecting you actually to come in on the hard line and so, but you know what? This Skype the audio's like crystal clear.
It is. It's a lot better sound quality, especially for the people calling in, I think, right?
Oh yeah, no, I appreciate it. Sorry, I was missing your call and stuff, but it's okay. We had a little bit to cover and everything. Man, I heard your show today. Now, did you do that show today, or was that a pre-record?
Pre-recorded.
Okay. No, that was, for those that don't know, we have Prepper Recon on the line, and his website is prepperrecon.com. Had an excellent show. I've been listening to a couple of your shows. I listened to the apartment show and then listened to the one that you posted today, and highly recommend that you go out there and you listen to those shows, especially those that are concerned about the state of affairs and how they can kind of, protect their families and everything. So yeah, it's a great show.
Thanks a lot, man. Thanks a lot. You're doing great work over here too.
We're trying, I'm learning. Oh my goodness. I am learning. It's just every day is something new. Like right now we're shopping for a digital hybrid, a 10 to 12 line phone system. And it's just, it's crazy. It's crazy, the technology that goes, it's just not a matter of getting a microphone and a board and an audio connection, if you want to take it to the next level. But the good news is we are starting to get noticed by iHeart. So that's great news for us. So, well, the topic, obviously, we were, for those that don't know, Prepper Recon, obviously with the name, you can pretty much know what we're going to discuss here, prepping and stuff. But I think we're going to kind of start out with some of the financial news.
Yeah. I know I'm supposed to be here to talk about solutions, not problems, because you talk about problems all day long, and I'm supposed to be coming to you with solutions. But part of the solution is is situational awareness, and that's just kind of knowing what's going on around you. And I think that's one of the things that Midnight Patriot is doing so well, is getting people aware of the problems. Because I'll tell you, I had no idea about Senator Cruz until I just heard that on your show. And I knew about Rand Paul, and I knew that he had backed Mitch McConnell, and that was very, very disappointing for me. But I didn't know any of that about Senator Cruz, and that just breaks my heart. It really does. Yeah,
I mean, I was shocked when I read it. I'm like, I got to report about it. I got to report about it, because then, I don't want to be accused of media bias or anything like that. And so when I said, what's the best way? Someone told me, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. So you just do it. And yeah, I was, like I said, I was devastated. Now I'm getting wind. Now, we have contacts at some of the major financial magazines and investment institutional, and we are looking into possibly, the two fronts. Number one, why he didn't disclose his offshore accounts, but number two, did Goldman Sachs profit from the shutdown? I know there's a lot of companies. I was talking to one of my buddies in Chicago who's an options trader, and they shorted a lot of different stocks, and there were some people that made some money off the shutdown, and so now I gotta, we're gonna dig into it. But yeah, I was very upset, but we gotta report it. We gotta be fair. So
yeah, we do. And the situational awareness, going back to that helps people understand the urgency of why they need to start preparing. And I think that's part of what gets them motivated to start taking some action steps and doing what they need to do to get ready for whatever, whether it's a complete collapse or partial collapse or hyperinflation or stagflation or a deflationary collapse, or maybe what a lot of people say is going to be a sort of a deflationary collapse and then shoot into hyperinflation. But anyway, one of the things I wanted to talk about today was Daegong Chinese rating agency, which is one of their big four that would be equivalent to like our Fitch or S&P, dropped the U.S. debt rating to A-, which that's not like when you get an A- in school. It's not like you almost got an A, yet it's just, you know, you still got an A, but it's just an A-, but it's still in the A category. That's 4 levels down, because you start at AAA, and then you go to AA, and then you go to A, and then you go to A-. So that's probably closer to, if we were thinking of high school letter grades, it's probably closer to a D.
Yes.
And it's just one step away from the Bs, which when you get into the Bs in credit ratings, that's really considered junk bonds, like what you have in Greece.
Yeah, which is, you know, it is. You know, and I know that there's some issues going on in China right now, where China's actually being, they're having some financial slowdowns as well. And but it's just, it's amazing. And, you know, what does this mean to us is that, you know, a lot of people, you know, obviously, you know, hear that we borrow money from China all the time. And typically with a lowering of your, you know, the short research that I did, the lowering of your credit rating usually means an increase in interest that you're going to have to pay on that bond or that debt, that note that you're taking. And, you know, and that's just going to add to our overall debt burden that we're already straddled with here in the United States. So, but yeah, it's getting there. It's getting there. But I agree with you. You know, we talk about the news here so that we kind of wake people up. We give people the information so that when they're sitting at the water cooler, they can do that. But yeah, we have to start talking about solutions. And, you know, that's one of the things we're going to do. I don't know if you heard, we're going to do the tech talk every night, where I'm going to give you suggestions or solutions, technology-based solutions, to help you, you know, avoid some eavesdroppings and different intrusive behaviors of our government. So, you know, with that note, though, let's talk about some solutions. You know, we had an awesome conversation last week. I will let you know, I went grocery shopping today. That's a great story in itself. You know, I got my bags of rice, you know, and I'm putting them in my 5-gallon buckets. I don't have the Mylar bags yet. I was looking on eBay for those and everything. And so I took the information that you gave us from our last show, and I'm actually putting it into my life, you know, and doing those things as well. So tonight we're going to be talking about.
Well, I've got a little prepper tip for at the end of our conversation. I was going to kind of leave everybody with, but back to the ratings agencies things. Now, we've also got the American ratings agencies. We've got Fitch, which put America on negative watch, but they're really too scared to actually downgrade us because of what happened to S&P after they dropped the U.S. to AA, because they got hit with a big $1 billion lawsuit for their involvement in the subprime fiasco.
That's right. I forgot about that. I completely, you know, thanks for reminding me. I forgot about that. Yeah, they downgraded us, and the next day they had all sorts of investigators all over them.
They did. But to put it another way, the A- that we got from the Chinese rating agency, if you or I had that for a FICO score, we wouldn't be able to buy a car, have a credit card, buy a house. We probably wouldn't even be able to rent an apartment with that sort of a FICO score if we had what would be the equivalent to that A-.
Wow.
But so anyway, back to Fitch and Moody's and S&P. So all of these guys that were involved in the subprime ratings where they were given the subprime collateralized debt obligations. They were giving them all AAAs and AA's, and that's what triggered our last crisis. They've got us rated at AAA and AA for U.S. debt. So it's the same thing all over. Now, did you learn anything from that last crisis when when they had everybody rated at all the subprime rated at AAA and AA?
Well, yeah, I learned a few things. learned a few things. I learned to start investing in hard, tangible assets such as gold and silver, and lead. So
yeah, copper jacket and lead. Yeah, but I learned you can't trust those rating agencies. That's one of the things I learned. But the implications that has on the derivatives market is absolutely nuclear, because we have $500 trillion in interest rate swap derivatives. And they're created with formulas that don't account for wild swings in interest rates. So let's think about the 2008 subprime bubble. It was $3 trillion of subprime debt, and we know what that did to the economy. So this $500 trillion in interest rate swap derivatives is 167 times larger. So I guess a way to think of that is if 2008, if that crisis was the size of your house, the derivatives crisis would be the size of a shopping mall, probably. And to sort of break down derivatives of what they are, I think an easy way to think about them is they're basically just an insurance policy. So let's think about them in terms of being like a car insurance policy. So if interest rates were to spike, it would be the equivalent of everybody in America getting into a car wreck on the same day. And think about what that would do to State Farm or Geico or whatever. Now imagine that there were hundreds of policies for full coverage on each one of those cars in America that got into a wreck. No insurance company in the world could pay that out. So depositors go to the back of the line when banks go belly up, and derivatives, they have super priority in bankruptcy, thanks to the Bankruptcy Reform Act in 2005, which was pushed through by some of our good friends over at Goldman Sachs, which I think you were talking about earlier in the show.
Yep. Well, a lot of people, I don't know if you listened. We had Ellen Brown, who was the Web of Debt, the author of Web of Debt and Private Banking Solutions.
That's where I got that information.
Yeah. Okay. We're gonna get her. Okay. Yeah. No, Ellen. She was our first guest, and we're gonna definitely get her back on the air, and we're gonna be talking about this. But one of the things in that conversation, a lot of people, Detroit. They negotiate, Goldman Sachs, those guys all negotiated first superposition before the default of Detroit. So what they were able to do is basically extract pension fund money that was in the pension fund, and these financial institutions were able to get their money out. And now Detroit, we hear the stories and stuff, they're sitting there trying to figure out how they're going to keep the lights on, if they can keep the lights on. I mean, so it's just, it's amazing. It is a, how do you say it? It is a financial theft through manipulation of the markets and stuff. So, I mean, it's crazy. But I'd never really thought about it. You bring up a great, excellent point, and I think our listeners need to hear this, is that when it pops, the original one, and we all felt the pain from that size of your house. And now we're talking about a supermarket. Unbelievable. Mm-hmm.
And everybody thinks that, well, that's my money in the bank, so I'm going to be the first one in line to get it. No, you're in the back of the line. You're an unsecured, an unsecured creditor. Yeah. As far as the way the bankruptcy law is going to look at that when and if this all pops.
Well, one of the things I've been trying to, we've mentioned it a couple times here to our listeners, is that, this is nothing new. I mean, we got into this situation a long time ago, on a much smaller scale, but the reality of it is that we had a banker holiday where people went to bed over the weekend and came back and when they had, I'm just throwing a number out there, they had $10,000 in the bank. They were issued a note, a Fed note, and they were told, oh, you only have 5,000 in the bank. And, oh, here's this new shiny Fed note that you can have. I mean, do you think that is a possibility where we could have a one of those, another banking holiday here in the United States?
It's happened before. It happened in 1933, right? In March of 1933.
Yep.
It's happened here before. It happened in Russia. It happened in Cyprus. It happened in Argentina. It happens all over. Yeah. Why wouldn't it happen again?
Hey, well,
people think that because it's never happened to me and it hasn't happened in my lifetime that it can't. And then they think that, oh, my deposits are insured by the FDIC. That's a facade. They're insuring $10 trillion in deposits with about $30 billion in the actual fund. I mean, sure, the Fed will print that money up, but do you know how long that would take to print $10 trillion? $10 trillion, that's 10 football fields full of $100 bills on pallets stacked too high.
Jeez. And
then by the time they got them printed, do you know what they'd be worth?
Yeah.
Nothing.
Nothing. And,
nothing.
And going to that point, I mean, today, I've always made the argument is that, what's going on, because I hear this so much. Well, it doesn't affect me. I don't care what goes on and what, it doesn't, those guys are all crooks. Those guys are whatever, I hear all the names and I try to explain to people, it does affect you. I mean, I went to the supermarket today. I took some time off. It's pretty sad. It's not, because we're busy here. We're on a mission here to educate people. So, Sandy and I were sitting there and it's like, hey, let's go, she wanted to go grocery shopping. Normally she'll do that. And I said, look, I'm going to spend some quality time with you grocery shopping. Right. So we go, I went into the local grocery store. Campbell's soup, grew up on Campbell's soup as a kid, loved it and everything. The Campbell's soup the cans are half the size. I don't know what they are down where you're at, but the Campbell's soup cans were half the size of a normal Campbell's soup, and they were $1.29. Now I remember in college when I, was living on a college diet and we buy Campbell's soup, I used to get them for 50 cents, 25 cents a can, and now they're $1.29 a can for half the size. Eggs. Well, I used to get eggs at 89 cents. Now they were at our store, they were $2.39 a dozen. And it's amazing. But what I guess I like the fact America's waking up, because as we were checking out, no joke, didn't say a word, didn't tell anybody what I did. I was just there being, Jeff Norton with Sandy, and we were loading up there. A couple behind us was talking about, the country going to the heck in a handbasket. It's a family show, so we're trying to keep it clean. And as the lady's checking us out, she's talking to us about, what's going on in Washington. And it's amazing. One of the things, I think the American people are starting to see this, and they're starting to feel the pain like the rest, they're starting, and it's starting to affect them, and they're getting, from the conversations I had. Of course, now when they start talking, I'm going to jump in, and they were, we had a great right there in the checkout line, had a great conversation, had an opportunity to educate some individuals, and told them that they don't have to be, you have to live in the world, kind of in a bubble here. But you can do things to help yourself out a little bit. So yeah. Wow. I never really thought about it that size, or that magnitude. You've opened up my eyes.
Yeah, and that's one of the solutions I wanted to talk about.
Sure.
To all of this, and being prepared for this, and what can you do with your money? And you just touched on it right there. Is groceries. Because if you buy your Campbell's at $1.29 now, and it's $2 a year from now, why not buy 6 months worth of that Campbell's? If groceries, and I think we could all safely say that probably John Williams over at Shadow Stats, his inflation numbers are probably more accurate than what we're getting out of the Bureau of Economic activity. He's claiming it's 10%, and I think the Bureau of Economic Activity is telling us it's 1.7 or something. I'd have to lean towards the 10%, because and the same thing with coffee. Coffee used to be a pound, and it used to be 250, and then it went to 14 ounces, and now it's about 11 and a half ounces, and it's $5 or $6. It's terrible.
Well, peanut butter, yeah. Toilet
peanut
paper.
butter,
Oh, I was, like I said,
chocolate.
Oh, yeah.
Cereal.
It's just unbelievable. So, well, that's a good question. I'm glad you said that. So, like Campbell's soup, how long does that stay? I mean, how long can you store that for?
It will last. Anything that's in a can like that will last forever. Okay. With the caveat that if it's not dented and it's not rusted, it will last forever. Okay. After about 7 years, it's going to start to lose a little bit of its nutritional value, and it's going to start to lose some of its flavor. But you could open it up 30 years from today, and as long as it's not dented and it doesn't have any rust on the can, you could still eat it. Now, and it's still going to have some nutritional value, and it's probably not going to taste like much, and it may lose a lot of the texture in it as well, but it'll last.
Well, now the question is, like most of the cans that we see around here have the easy off lids, that aren't real cans. Are those? I mean, obviously, I would think that the standard old soup can would be the best bet, not these easy off type of pull type lids, right?
I'd have to look into that, but I don't see why. I think they have about the same expiration dates, which aren't really accurate. They're just, that has to do with trying to move the product.
Gotcha.
I think they would probably last for just about as long.
Yeah. No,
but
I mean,
that's a good point. Maybe that's it might be a little bit more of a good seal to get the regular can opener style cans.
Sure. Now,
if you're buying groceries, and groceries are going up at 10% a year, instead of putting that money into a 10-year treasury, which is 2.5% today, you're beating the market by 7.5% with no risk as long as you eat that food. So financially, that just makes good sense. And then if nothing happens, you beat the market and you got a 7.5% return on your investment. So financially, it's a good move. Now, if things do go bad, and we do have a Tiatwaki, which in prepper speak, that's the end of the world as we know it, and we just use that little acronym Tiatwaki to describe that sort of an event.
I have to remember that.
So if we do have a Tiatwaki event, now you've got at least 6 months that you're going to eat, and you're going to be able to think about, how else you're going to be able to transition into gardening or hunting or doing whatever you have to do to feed yourself.
Sure.
So that's a good basket. And I think that I think the wise thing to do is to spread it around. You figure out what your budget is for prepping and what your budget is for investing and things like that. And I think diversity is the key. And you never want to put – the people that make the mistake are the ones that they stick all of their money in ammo. Well, now you got plenty of ammo and you got no food. Or they stick all their money into gold and silver. Well, now you got gold and silver, but you got no bullets to protect it with. Or they stick all their money into real estate, and then the real estate bubble pops. But if you spread it around and any one thing goes belly up, you're still going to have the other things for backup. So another good basket, and we talked about that last week, is ammo. We talked about it right here at the beginning of the show. And it's a commodity, like you said. It's lead. It's something that people have to go and dig out of the ground and put effort into getting it. It's not somebody at the Federal Reserve creating it through a keystroke. So it has a tangible value because it took effort to get it out of the ground, and also the copper that jackets that lead, and the brass. So they're commodities, and then it has utility. It has utility as security. And it can have utility as food production if you live in an area where you can hunt. So that's another good place that you can spread it around a little bit. And then I think we talked about a banking holiday and the possibility of a banking holiday here, and and then there's the possibility of bail-ins, and we talked about that a little bit last week as well. Keep a little bit of cash at home. And I think everybody, before they even start thinking about gold or silver or anything else, I think that they should try to get a 6 months emergency fund to where they could go with no job and no income and no government assistance for 6 months on the savings that they have. And I think that you should try to find somewhere on your property, not necessarily under the mattress, and I think we talked about that last week, but either in a safe or buried in the backyard or under a rock or something like that, or maybe in a few different places, to where if it's in a safe and you do get a home invasion, you've still got some in the garden, and if somebody sees you put that in the garden and they dig it up, then you still got what's in the safe. And diversify that as well.
Sure. So, we talk about food and sort of, now, do a lot of people have been telling me, well, you need to join Costco or Sam's or anything like that. Are those good investments? Do you actually truly get the savings, or are you better spent taking that money that you have for those memberships and using them, to buy other product? What's your experience?
We don't use them, and that's my personal experience, and it's only because God blessed me with a couponer for a wife.
Okay.
And if I could probably do it, and I think I could figure it out, because she's got a pretty good system, and it's not super time consuming, but coupons are the key. And she feeds both of us on $50 a week, and that includes our shampoo and our toothpaste and our toothbrushes and our deodorant and our razors and shaving cream and toilet paper and paper towels and everything that we eat, and plus everything that the cat eats for a week. She feeds us on $50 a week, and we eat good, but she does it with coupons. And all of the toiletries and things she gets from CVS, and if you got one of those in your area, you can go to CVS, and they have extra care bucks, they're called, and the register will spit those out, and each week they'll put out their flyer, and they'll tell you what you can get for free that week. And she'll just go in there and get everything that she can get for free that week. What it requires is at first you're going to pay $20 for the first load.
Okay.
And then you'll get back, let's say, $20 in extra care bucks. Now you just keep rolling over that same $20 every week. And she's been doing this for a couple of years. So the first $20 investment, she's already saved over $1,000 this year from the extra care bucks at CVS. And we've just got boxes and buckets and everything of razors and shampoo and soap, and
gotcha.
We've got 6 months of toilet paper. Which,
Now,
when it hits the fan, you want toilet paper. That's one of the things that you're not going to want to do without. So stock up on that.
Well, and I was actually looking at that today. I'm looking at the toilet paper, and I'm sitting there going, so we bought bulk. So we're starting to think, instead of buying what we need for that week or that couple of weeks and stuff, we're actually buying more and more bulk. And you raised a great point, because even the girl that was checking us out was like, do you have any coupons? And we were like, no. And she's like, why not? She actually asked us, like, kind of looked at us funny and said, well, why not? And, coupons, do you have to subscribe to a local newspaper to get your coupons, or where's the best place to get those? Because that's traditionally what I saw my mother doing and stuff, was getting them out of the local newspaper. Do you guys get them from other sources?
They're still in the paper, so you can still get them in that Sunday paper. But coupons are everywhere, and there's usually a store flyer. If you have a Winn-Dixie or a Publix or a Kroger or anything like that, they have store flyers, and they'll usually have store coupons, which will be down here. The big grocery store chain is Publix. So you'll go to Publix, and at the back of the store, they'll have a flyer, and it'll have 50 cents off on pasta, and then you match that with another 50 cent off on pasta from the Sunday paper. And so now you've got $1 off on this pasta. and then you hold on to those until you see the pasta on sale 2 for 1, and it's $1. So now you go in and you get 2 boxes of pasta, and you put the 50-cent store coupon, and then you put the 50-cent manufacturer coupon, and your pasta's free.
Gotcha.
And sometimes it'll actually be an overage. Some grocery stores will open up the drawer and they'll give you money out of the drawer, and other ones they'll let you put that towards meat or fresh fruit or something that you typically wouldn't be able to get coupons for. But she gets so much stuff. She gets pasta sauce, pasta, cereal. Most of that stuff she gets completely free, which is a big help. And that's a big part of our stockpile, of our 6 months food supply. And most of that's all come from couponing. And it didn't require us to come up with a budget for buying extra food to build up a 6 month food stockpile.
Gotcha. See, I never, like I said, it was one of these things, like, it's all about changing habits and everything. And, we were talking about that today, is, the macaroni and cheese. We try to stay away from the pastas and all that stuff because of health reasons. And I'm looking at it and I'm like, but you know what? That's what you want, because it's a quick, starchy food, and when you're hungry, it's easy to pack and stuff. And so we're actually starting to educate ourselves a little bit more, and not saying that we're getting rid of the fresh fruits and the vegetables and all that stuff. That's our normal diet. But when we are going to the store today, I went to the store and I'm looking at the bags, the bulk bags of macaroni, elbows, the noodles and the rice and all that. And I'm like, this is stuff that we normally would never buy. And, Dr. Oz, if he came in our house, would freak out. But, and the reality of it is that when the stuff hits the fan, this is something that you definitely need. And, and I think one of the things too, I started to think about, you got me thinking. I'm a student here, here at the show today and last week and stuff. We have a dog. We have a big dog, actually. He's a great Pyrenees, and I'm looking at him and I'm like, we got to prepare for him as well, because he goes through a 50-pound bag of dog food a month at least. And, that's so, I mean, do you have any suggestions on animals like that? How do you store it? Because I know dog food goes bad pretty quick.
Well, you put it in those Mylar liners, and it's going to last a lot longer than it would otherwise.
Sure.
And you're probably just going to have to look and see which types of dog food would last the longest, and do a little research, and some of it's probably going to last a little longer. But when things get bad, dogs will probably eat just about anything. They'll probably eat rice and beans. I would imagine a dog would eat rice and beans if times are really, really tough, because my grandfather always had dogs and on the farm in Kentucky, and he never bought dog food. Everything they ate was just the scraps from the table. And they were always healthy dogs.
Okay. Yeah, because we were thinking of that too. We got to start prepping for our dogs as well. And
we keep our cat food. We keep 6 months worth of cat food, and it doesn't go bad. We keep it. One of the things we do is we'll put it inside of a trash bag and just seal it and tie it off in a knot, so that it keeps. There's no critters that are going to be tempted to get in it. Sure.
Nope. So, I mean, yeah, like I said, I mean, you've woken me up. I mean, I'm starting to think about that. I mean, I was even today, asking, now we don't have we have a standard freezer that comes with our refrigerator. And I was talking to him, I was like, what we need to probably do is get a small freezer and start buying a little bit more, meat and keeping that frozen. Most of the, I haven't had time to hunt like I used to and everything with everything that's going on. But, what's your recommendations on that? Is a freezer worthy? Because my concern is if it does hit the fan, one of the things you're going to probably be without is power. And do you recommend that, or do you recommend getting meat and then canning it? I've seen some websites where they show you how to can meat, but I've also read that that's very dangerous if you don't do it correctly.
It's dangerous if you don't do it correctly, but if you get a pressure canner, you can can any meat.
Okay.
I canned it because every Thanksgiving, you know, turkeys go on sale for 49 cents or 59 cents a pound. So last year I got 2 turkeys, and we ate one for Thanksgiving, and the other one we canned with our pressure canner. And I don't have a video on it, but I have a post on it. If anybody wants to go to prepperrecon.com and just type into the search box canning turkey, it's probably going to come right up, and it'll have all the directions there for what I did for turkey. And when you get a pressure canner, it's going to come with a little book, and it's going to give you what pressure it needs to be at and how long you need to cook each type of meat. Okay. And now my brother-in-law, he's every deer season he gets pretty much the maximum amount of whatever he can get, and he just he took 2 deer hams and gave to a lady to process, and she kept one and gave him one back of deer jerky, and that's great. But now I think that the power outage is going to be the extreme event.
Okay.
But now if you just want to make a little solar power system that's big enough to keep a freezer or a refrigerator, you can buy a 1,000-watt inverter, and you can get that on Amazon for about $65, and you can get 2 158-watt panels for about $250, and you can get a 125 amp hour 12-volt deep cycle battery, and then you just need a charging regulator. And I've got a post on that on Prepper Recon too, and it'll have the entire diagram of how to put all 4 of those components together to make a little system that you could run a refrigerator or a deep freezer off of. And if you start with the inverter, you can take that inverter, and if it's a temporary thing, you can hook that up to your car engine, and you can run 1,000 watts off of your car engine with that inverter. You just connect the cables to your battery terminals, and you want to do that with the engine on. Or you can just and then after you buy the inverter, the next thing, if you want to do this piece by piece, the next thing you would buy is to buy the deep cycle battery, and then you can just get a regular 12-volt charger and keep that thing charged. And now you at least have 4 or 5 days that you can run your refrigerator or your deep freezer with no power, because most power outages are short term. And I think that a complete grid down scenario, of course it can happen from a solar flare. Of course it can happen from a terrorist attack. It can happen from an EMP, which can be generated by way of a nuclear device being detonated in the upper atmosphere that sends out a electromagnetic pulse and knocks out the grid. So I mean, it's very, very possible, but I think it's the extreme example of what we need to prepare for. And but it's something that you can do, and that little solar system, it'll cost you less than $1,000, and you can know that you have enough power to keep a refrigerator going. And especially if anybody has something where they have to keep a certain type of medication for diabetes or something like that, where they need to keep that refrigerated, or if you have an oxygen generator or a CPAP machine or something like that where you have to have electricity, I think that's a really, really good investment.
Sure. No, that's a very good point. And that was, we were looking at medicines and stuff. Now I'm a big proponent, because we would, do a lot of sailing and stuff. And so we would always, go on long trips. So you'd always make sure you have extra medicine and everything. So I do know how that works. And, with the solar panels and stuff you didn't have them on the sailboats. We had wind generators, but they really didn't put out the output, that we needed to actually drive a bigger system like that. Most of our sailboats are all 12-volt systems, and then you typically just charge them up on the dock and then go with them, and then the wind power would be as a to have running lights or whatever at night and stuff. But great points, excellent points, outstanding points. I mean, it's like I said, my eyes are, it's one thing to sit here and talk about all the problems every day. It's another thing to talk about the solutions and stuff. And you've never really thought of the other side of the equation is the solutions until you actually opened my eyes. So if we have a deflation, I mean, what would be the type of events that we can, from your experience or from your research and stuff, that we can kind of, we can say, it's coming. Obviously we're there financially and stuff, but what would be some of the warning signs that we need to start looking for? And when we start seeing those signs, then we need to know that we need to either start getting our bug out bags ready and everything.
Radical shifts in the interest rate, like we saw yesterday when it dropped 9 basis points in one day. Was that yesterday, or that was the day before?
Day before, yep.
It dropped 9 basis points in one day, because those are the types of jumps that can trigger the derivatives time bomb. That's a sign of instability. The entire financial market's like this big Jenga puzzle. And particularly when you start to involve fiat currencies, all fiat currencies are these big Jenga puzzles, and you don't know which block you're going to pull out is going to make the whole thing crumble, and you don't really know when. Do you have 2 more blocks or 3 more blocks that you can pull out? You don't know when, and you don't know which way the thing's going to fall until you know which block it is that's going to make it topple. And so it could fall to the left, which might indicate a hyperinflationary scenario, or it could fall to the right, which might indicate a deflationary scenario. But now if we go through the deflationary scenario and you've got cash, that it's very likely that the Fed is going to come out with some extreme money printing to stop that. And that's going to turn around and trigger a hyperinflationary scenario. And when you see that, if you see the deflationary thing, I think that a hyperinflation is going to follow, and that might be a really, really good opportunity for people that do have a little cash set aside to either get into gold or silver or farmland. Farmlands, now that's another good thing. It's a bug out location that you have, and then if things don't turn out to be so bad, you can either produce food on it to feed yourself for if things get bad, or if they don't. And if you've got a lot of wooded acreage, the trees can be sold for lumber or paper or anything. So that's got a lot of value, and that might be a good hedge against inflation. But I'll tell you what, if you had gold and silver, if you had that in Russia in the 90s, you did okay. If you had gold and silver in 2001 in Argentina, you came out all right. And if you had gold and silver in Zimbabwe in, what year was that? 2005? Is that right? 2009. I think it's 2009. 2009, you were okay. And if you had gold and silver in Weimar, Germany, in the 20s, you did okay. But now if you were in all cash in any of those instances, you got wiped out, completely wiped out.
Sure.
And silver's up about $1 since the last time we talked. I think gold is up about $70 since we spoke last week. And the production cost of gold right now on average is around $1,500 an ounce. Now, average means that some companies are producing it at $1,600, and there's others that are producing it at $13, and maybe some that are producing it at $12. But it's only those companies that are producing it all-in cost of below $13.50 that are making any money. So if it doesn't get back up to that average production cost, we're going to see a huge pullback in production, which is probably going to trigger a supply shortage and probably going to indicate even higher prices than just the normal correction of going back to average production cost. And the same thing with silver. Average production cost on silver is about $28 right now. So at 2260, I think it was today, it's a gift, I think. And I think it's a good hedge, and I think it's a good place once you get that 6 months cushion of savings in cash. After that, I think it's good to start thinking about putting about. I don't give investment advice because I'm not a licensed
broker dealer
investment advice.
yeah.
No. So, but I'll just say what I do for myself after that 6 months is set to the side. I like about a 10% allocation into precious metals, about 5% for gold, about 5% for silver, and over time, it's always done good. I think we talked about that last week. The $5 Indian gold coin that they had in 1929 is a quarter ounce of gold, and so it's about. Let me get my calculator. So that's about $337 that of purchasing power that has now. So I mean, if you had traded that in when Roosevelt called in all the gold, and you would have traded that in for a $5 bill, of course, I think he gave you about $8 for it in currency, but still that $8 compared, if you would have stuck that into the bank with no interest, compared to $337.50, the value of that quarter ounce of gold now, it's preserved its value, whereas the paper money has absolutely been on a complete downhill slide.
Sure. You know which is really, you talk about gold. I actually had a listener who texted me last week, and he doesn't mind sharing this. He told me what he does is because, when you buy the coin and the all that, there's a possibility that it can still be traced. I know that there was a couple companies that the federal government came in and seized the records to see who was who bought the bullion from them and stuff. What he did is he actually put a listing up on Craigslist. Said, I will pay you cash for your gold, and he said that he stockpiled his gold and he didn't have to pay the premium. He was actually giving, at that time, he said it was very easy. He would go to the gold index, and say, all right, they're giving you this much for the ounce, and here's your cash. And that's what he was doing. And then of course he's melting it himself and making an ingot out of it. And he said that was, because one of the questions I have is, obviously you see Midas Resource, all those different agencies. Well, obviously they're making profit selling these things to you. So, how do you maximize your dollars? And that was his suggestion, is just put an ad in Craigslist or, in a local newspaper saying, I buy gold, pay cash for gold and silver. And and that's how he's been collecting his, and he says it's been working out pretty well for him. So,
and they're one of my sponsors, but I'll tell you what, I was buying gold from them before they were my sponsor. If you don't mind me plugging them.
No, is that Midas?
No, it's JM Bullion.
Okay.
And they have, and I've researched because I've been doing it for a little while, and I don't want people to just take my advice and just follow me blindly. But what I want you to do is I want you to go online and look at their prices, and then go around and look at 4 or 5 other companies' prices. And I think you're going to find the same thing that I found, that they have the lowest price over spot for American Silver Eagles and American Eagle gold coins and Maple Leafs, and it's JM Bullion, and you get a coupon code. If you buy $300 or more, you can use coupon code PR for Prepper Recon, PR5, and that'll get you $5 off your order, which will cover about half your shipping, because your shipping's about $10, which is also really reasonable for any of the companies out there. So if anybody's out there thinking about buying gold or silver, definitely look at them and compare prices, and compare JM Bullion's prices. I think you'll probably end up finding that they have about the best deal going.
Sure. No, absolutely.
But that's the Craigslist idea is a great idea, but that might be pretty heavily involved there to actually smelting it and purifying it.
Well, it was funny.
You have to have a good little workspace.
Well, I asked him. I'm like,
imagine.
exactly. And he actually smelts his own lead. So he already had the coil inductions, heater and all that stuff. So he's like, I just use the same crucible and everything as I do in my lead making. And he said the only thing that you have to, obviously with the arsenic or whatever, to take the impurity metals out and stuff. And he said, yeah, he'll do it right there in front of the customer. He'll say, all right, this is what I'm going to give you. This is what it's worth. The customer will sit there, they'll melt it down. He'll pour it in his little mold. And he's like, all right, here's the true weight, the tar weight, I think is what he said. And that's, and then they're done and the customer's, everybody's happy. And, and he gets himself and, some gold that's gold. And he does silver as well, but he prefers gold because apparently gold is easier to smelt. So.
I bet it is. The silver has a lot higher melting point than the gold.
Yeah. So I mean that was what he was doing, but a lot of great points. I mean, like I said, I am, I'm trying to get away from it. It was funny because when I was talking with Ellen, she's like, "Yeah, you got to get away from the problem." And get to the solution the solution side, because that, everybody knows what the problems are. We got to get to the solutions, and that, you've raised some really great, excellent points for us and our listeners and everything. And, I appreciate you taking time out of your evening and spending it with us on the call and stuff. I mean, is there anything else? Did we get it all?
Absolutely, Jeff. I appreciate you having me on the show. I love coming on. I love talking to you, and I love doing it. I guess that's why I do it. Here's the prepper tip of the week, because I want to give you a little prepper tip of the week. I guess there was a few tips in there already, but I want to try to give one practical tip for everybody every week when I come on. And this week's practical prepping tip is it's buy baking soda. It's got so many uses that you can use for your preparedness efforts. You can use it for cleaning, and keep a box of it in your bug out bag when you get your bug out bag together, because you can use it to wash your hair. You can use it to brush your teeth. It'll get bad odors out of your clothes. So if you're sort of bugging out and you've got to wash your clothes in a creek or something like that, you can use baking soda for that. And God forbid that you're on the lam and you're actually having to do some escape and evasion, you'll be able to get the scent out without putting in a bunch of heavy perfumes. And then that's also going to go as far as using it for a deodorant. It's going to keep your personal scent down to make you harder to track without adding a bunch of extra perfumes that you might have in regular deodorant. It's got some medical uses. Of course, if you've got really bad heartburn, you can mix it with a little bit of water and it'll relieve heartburn. You can mix it with a little bit of water to make a paste, and you can use that to relieve insect bites or sunburn. And then last week we talked about storing dried beans, and I might have mentioned this last week, but it's certainly worth repeating because it is such a good tip. If you put a tablespoonful of baking soda in your dried beans the night before, when you soak them in the water, they'll cook in about half the amount of time that they would cook otherwise, which dried beans can take about 2 hours to cook. But if you put that baking soda in there, it'll cut it down to about an hour. Whereas in a post-apocalyptic stuff hits the fan scenario, fuel might be something that's hard to come by. If you're not out in the woods where you got plenty of wood to cook with, if you're in sort of an urban area and you're having to rely on propane tanks or sternos or something like that, conserving your fuel is going to be really, really important, and that'll cut that cooking time in half.
Great point. Once again, didn't know about baking soda. So I thought it was just the thing you put in your refrigerator to keep it from
Prepper Gold.
It is Prepper Gold. Prepper Gold. There we go. We're gonna corner the market on baking soda, and everything. No, I appreciate it. I appreciate it. For everybody that doesn't know, Prepper Recon, he has actually a blog, mentioned it a couple times. It's prepperrecon.com. He has guests. He has a weekly podcast as well. Has experts in the industry and everything on his show. So I highly recommend you go out there and do that. Now, I'm going to do something here. I was just thinking about it, and I'm putting my bug out bag together, after we were talking the other day and everything on the last show. I don't know if you listened to the show. We had an author, Jake Danishevsky. Danishevsky was on. He grew up in Soviet Russia before his family moved over here. So he actually saw and he on that show he kind of explained what he saw as a child growing up in Soviet Russia, communist Russia at the time, and what drew the correlation to what we're seeing here. So Jake is an author. He wrote a great book. I actually got my hard copy the other day. He sent it out to me, but because of mail or whatever, it didn't get to me before the show. I actually had a digital version of it that I was reading, but he sent me a hard copy. Now, we have ordered 10 of those to give away. So here we go. And you can actually, Prepper Recon, you can put this on your site too.
I'll do it.
If you send me a picture of your bug out bag, it doesn't matter what's in it, but send me a photograph. Just take a picture of it, put it up on Facebook. We'll get them posted up there, and everything. We will select one person, just random drawing. We'll just select the one person, and the person that wins, we will send you a signed copy of Aftertaste and Tales from Russia, and we'll get that out to you and stuff. We'll start this week, and this time next week, hopefully we'll have a slew that we can pick from, and we'll just pick out the bug out bag and everything. So you can send that to the Midnight Patriot, and then also Prepper Recon, if you don't mind. Send it to Prepper Recon. So the best bug out bag. That's what we'll do. The best bug out bag. Take a picture of it. Tell us what your contents are in it, and then whoever wins that, will send you out a free copy of Jake Danishevsky's book. There you go. We're gonna start doing some giveaways.
You can make two winners, and I'll send you a copy of American Exit Strategy, the Economic Collapse Chronicles, Book 1, which is my new book. And so you can have two winners. You can have one for his book, and then I'll have a signed copy, and I'll send that to you.
Awesome.
And then you can give away a copy of that as well. Is that good? Is that cool?
That is awesome. That's
awesome. And people can check that out. It's got its own website. They can go to AmericanExitStrategy.com, and they can read a little bit more about what that's all about. And it's what it sounds like. It's the economic collapse, and it goes through the slow motion breakdown of what I think is probably coming, and it follows the lives of some preppers, and it looks at a lot of practical tips. I try to get a lot of information in there as well that doesn't just address the problem, but also looks at the solutions through the actions of the protagonists and the other characters in the book.
Sure.
And then next week when I come on, I'll try to talk about getting a nice medical kit together for your bug out bag, a little one for your bug out bag, and a little bit bigger one for your home. And we'll try to look at what some good things are to put in there.
All right. Well, hey, Prepper, I'm gonna start using you by your pseudonym instead of I know your real name. I kind of blasted it out there last time we were talking and stuff. So, but I was criticized heavily. It's like, oh, maybe he doesn't want to know and stuff. But
no, because my real name's on the book. So I mean, at that point, I mean, if we're not on the list, then we don't deserve to call ourselves patriots anyway, right?
Yeah, exactly.
There's no hiding. It doesn't matter if you're the head of Germany. You're still going to get tapped by the NSA.
You're still in the NSA. Yeah, you and 35 other people. Yeah, that's right. And
oh my gosh, the heads of people from France and all over. Boy, making friends and influencing people, right?
You're absolutely right. You know what's really funny though? I was sitting there. I was watching Jay Carney yesterday, where he was like, "Oh, President Obama called, Chancellor Kohl, they were talking, and and I'm sitting there. Remember the Iraq War when Bush was going in? They had the press secretary for the, they call them Comic Alley, not Chemical Alley, but Comic Alley, where he was like, "Oh no, the Americans are not in the country," and stuff. And you knew that, and I'm surprised Saturday Night Live didn't do a skit where they were, where the Marines were taking his banner and his poster off as he was given, "Oh no, the Americans are not here. We are, they're fleeing the country. We are destroying them." And I was watching Jay Carney, and I'm like sitting there going, do you not read the news? I mean, because he's sitting there going, he's saying, well, the president, we weren't spying on it was the GRB, or I don't know what their intelligence sources, they're the ones that broke the story. They're the ones that said, the NSA is spying on our chancellor. They're the ones that came up with it. It wasn't, leaked through Snowden or anybody like that. It was actually, they were caught red-handed. And then Carney's sitting there going, "Oh no, the president wasn't doing it." And then today it finally came out. Snowden, I guess, released the documents as well. There was 35 leaders that the NSA, and it's gotten so bad that the NSA or not the NSA, but these countries' leaders have now asked the UN to sanction the United States for doing this. That's pretty, I know a lot of people out there think that, we're not beholden to the United Nations and stuff, but you got to ask yourself that, one friend told me a long time ago when I was in college, and, all college students party and have a good time. And one friend said, when you got 4 or 5 friends telling you that you really need to slow down and you need to stop doing what you're doing, you might want to start listening to them. And, and that's the thing with the United, that's what I look at, is the fact that we got 35 countries, 35 leaders of 35 countries, and these are our allies. These aren't, Iraq and, places where we're in conflict. These are our allies, our friends are all saying, enough is enough, America. Enough is enough, and you got to stop doing this. So yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, yeah, I put my name on all the posts. I mean, I've already had the death threat. I've already had my first one.
Wow.
Yeah,
congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much.
I haven't had one of those yet.
I actually have.
I've had some trolls really spout off some pretty vile stuff, but no death threats.
Yeah, I've had a death threat. They said they hope that, I won't tell you what they actually, it was pretty vile, to be honest with you. And it is what it is. And to me, that just motivates me even more. And it goes back to a comment that I made, at the beginning. I knew I was going to get them when I started that portion of the show, because I was, attacking a certain religion, and I knew it. I knew it was coming. And you can't, I live pretty close to a major city. And so, yeah. Yeah. I told him, I said,
little Baghdad over there. Right?
Yeah, I told him, I said, let me, I'll give you my address. You can come here. I'll just let you know I am heavily armed. Someone will be going. Yeah, someone will be going home dead. And that's just, it's just crazy. It's just insane. I mean, we try to. It's not our job to incense people and stuff, but when you're telling the truth, and you're, it's hard to do it. So yeah, I got my first death threat, and we soldier on though. Continue to move on.
We're all terrorists anyway, right? Did you see the piece in FoxNews.com today about the soldiers attending the pre-deployment briefing at Fort Hood? Yep,
we were told. Yep, we were Christians and absolutely.
And Tea Partiers. We're a threat to the nation.
Yep.
And any soldier donating to those groups could be subjected to punishment under the Uniform Code of Military Justice.
Yes. Yep. And we knew that was coming. I mean, we lost another general too. I think we're up to 9 now.
Wow.
We're up to 9 generals. And, we were talking about that yesterday. We had Stone Anthony on, who, he's also former military. So he was like, when you have that many top rank, I mean, to get to those positions, you're bringing just a slew of knowledge and growth. I mean, these are guys that have been, all the way from the, Vietnam era and their experiences there, bringing them up, and they're, they're being let go. I mean, they're just being discharged, and so I mean, there's a fundamental attack in this country on our core Christian values. There's no doubt about it. Actually, if you stick around, listen to the show a little bit later, we're gonna be talking about that. I've been doing some research on, because I'm not educated in the Islam religion. I've been doing some research, and I'm going to kind of share that with the listeners. And then the questions, have risen is, why is this particular president, so anti-Christian? And, and so I started doing the research, and I think I got the answer. And it's not the typical answer that a lot of people believe. I know there's the argument, they say, well, he's a Muslim and blah, 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 blah. That could be true. I can't trace it. I looked at his elementary records and stuff when he was at elementary school. He was at a secular school. There was Muslims there and Christians there and stuff. And, the fact that he was named Osama, he was named after his father, and he went to that one school for 1 year. So I can't say in good journalistic integrity say, well, he was converted as a Muslim there. But I can tell you there's some other things, as he got older, and we're going to share that here in the next hour. And stuff.
Good. Well, I'm going to be listening.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, so everybody, Prepper Recon, you can join him on the web at prepperrecon.com. You can also, if you like us on Facebook, you can get to him through us on Facebook. He's out there. He posts. You'll see him a lot in a lot of the different groups and everything, posting and stuff. So, highly go out to his website. A lot of great information. That's how I met Mark, was actually through the information that he was providing on the website. And of course, order his book, go get his book, we got to support those that are out there. So Mark, you be well. I'll look forward to our conversations online and also next Thursday, my friend.
Absolutely,
All
Jeff.
right,
Thanks
take care of
for
yourself.
having me on. It's always a good time when we get together, right?
It is. Oh, we 3 hours last night, not you. That's the problem. Actually, one of the criticisms I got from the network is I got to handle our guests a little bit better and get them on the air and get them off. And so that's not going to happen. It's all about conversation. If we're having a good conversation, we will definitely continue to roll on. So you take care of yourself, and I will talk to you later, my friend.
You too. We'll see you next week, Jeff.
Yep. Bye now.
Thank you.
Hey Prepper Recon fans, I just published my new book, American Exit Strategy, Book 1 of the Economic Collapse Chronicles. Liberty-minded individuals who believe in the Constitution will find this near-future dystopian novel to be right up their alley. Those who are looking to be more informed about the potential threats to America's financial stability will learn what to watch for and how to prepare themselves for an economic collapse. In Book 1, America is on the cusp of financial annihilation. Matt and Karen Baer face the challenges of Main Street during a full-scale financial meltdown. Government borrowing and monetary creation have reached their limits. When funds are no longer available for government programs, widespread civil unrest erupts across the country. Matt and Karen are forced to move to a more remote location, and their level of preparedness is revealed as being much less adequate than they believed prior to the crisis. Meanwhile, Paul Randall, a third-party presidential candidate, arises to push back against the welfare and warfare spending that have bankrupted our country. While he's gained expansive acceptance across the country, the fight has just begun. Paul Randall proposes a plan to mitigate the coming hyperinflationary collapse, which is a mathematical certainty. His plan is known as the American Exit Strategy. American Exit Strategy uses survival fiction to take an in-depth look at the real-life politics and economics behind the issues that are likely to trigger a currency collapse or financial meltdown in the near future. American Exit Strategy is a work of fiction until it becomes history. Go to AmericanExitStrategy.com today to learn more or purchase your copy for Kindle in PDF format or paperback. Happy prepping.